get anything I want. And right now, I want to party.
Party? Two normally nerdy teenage boys strike it rich when they create, through the use of a computer, a perfectly beautiful young woman who will obey their every wish in Weird Science, one of 4 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on At the Movies, the movie review program. I'm Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. In addition to Weird Science, which is the story of some bright high school kids, this week we're also going to be reviewing Real Genius, the story of some incredibly brilliant college kids. And we'll look at The Coca-Cola Kid, a timely comedy about the one last place in the free world where nobody drinks Coke, not even old Coke. But first, Gene starts with a new horror movie named Fright Night.
Fright Night represents the return of the vampire film in modern clothes. As one of the characters asked during the film, aren't you tired of seeing only axe murderers wearing ski masks chop up young women in the movies these days? He's got a point there, and it is a funny line, and for a while, Fright Night has a lot of funny lines, telling the story of a young man discovering, even though no one will believe him, of course, that a vampire has moved into the house next door. That's why he visits the host of the local TV horror film show played by Roddy McDowall, because this kid needs and really wants help.
What do you want me to sign? Pardon me? Well, you do want my autograph, don't you?
No. No, sir, I was curious about what you said last night on TV, you know, about believing in vampires.
What about it?
Were you serious?
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, none of your generation seems to be.
What do you mean?
I have just been fired because nobody wants to see vampire killers anymore, or vampires either. Apparently all they want are demented madmen running around in ski masks, hacking up young virgins. Now, if you would excuse me.
I believe in vampires.
That's nice. If only there'd been a few more of you, perhaps my ratings would have been higher.
In fact, I have one living next door to me. Would you help me kill him?
That part of the story is kind of fun with Roddy McDowall. Less appealing is the horror material. For example, when one of that kid's friends, who doubts that vampires exist, learns otherwise in an alley.
Hello, Ebert. You don't have to be afraid of me. I know what it's like being different. Only they won't pick on you anymore or beat you up. I'll see to that. All you have to do is take my hand. Here, Edward. Take my hand.
Now, that kid there was Stephen Jeffries. He's the guy that Roger and I are always saying looks exactly like a young Jack Nicholson.
If Nicholson's ever looking for somebody to play his son, that's the guy who gets the job.
You bet. Now, those long nails we saw at the end of the picture actually, I thought, proved to be the undoing of Fright Night, because the often witty and funny movie in the beginning sadly turns at the end into a ghoulish special effects show full of disintegrating bodies, rotting corpses, and the sickest of all, a dying dog that crawls around with a stake through its heart. A lot of special effects in this film that are all too familiar or just plain gross. So, a reluctant thumbs down from me on Fright Night, because it is simply too gross at the end after a very funny beginning.
Well, it's a close call for me, but I do give it a thumbs up because I did think it was funny. And also, you're objecting to rotting corpses and disintegrating bodies in a vampire movie? What do you expect they're going to find in that coffin?
Not to the degree, Roger. In other words, we've seen other vampire films from
Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing,
where one thing disintegrates and it's a big moment, and we see it all turn into this.
You're ignoring the paradox of rising expectations in special effects films. This is 1985. You can't have Vincent Price putting one stake through one heart anymore. You got to have all this stuff.
I'd settle for two,
and
not
also,
200.
Also,
not
partially
200.
it's satirical. For example, when the
dog is satirical. Was that satirical when the dog is running around? That wasn't satirical. That was gross.
So let it be gross. I mean, you're looking at a vampire movie and you're saying it's in bad taste. It's supposed to be in bad taste. That's the whole point.
No, there have been other vampire films that have been quite stylish. Nosferatu. Even The Howling I liked, which was on the border of gross. I'm just saying it's too gross.
Well, this movie has nothing at all to do with Nosferatu or The Howling.
It has a lot to do with The Howling.
The fact that Roddy McDowall in it is a tip-off. It's a Saturday afternoon.
That stuff is fun. I said it too.
Vampire movie that's having fun with itself, and at that level, I give it thumbs up. Next at the movies, Real Genius, about college students so smart their term project could be a murder weapon.
Come on, you won't hurt my feelings. Just give it a... Yeah, there you go. What, too sweet?
This movie is named Real Genius, and it tells the story of two of the smartest science students in the country who both end up as the students of a fanatic physics professor at a school that is obviously supposed to be like Caltech. That's the place where when my team, Illinois, was in the Rose Bowl, they sabotaged the scoreboard with their computer so that Caltech was beating everybody. Those are that's the kind of school it is. These are the kind of students they are. These are kids who can dream up a new laser beam technology in between beer blasts. But of course, they're not real sophisticated socially. They don't know nearly as much about girls as they know about laser beams.
Or how to get dressed.
Right, another good point. Here's a scene in the laboratory with the freshman feeling like he's doing all of the seniors' work.
Mitch, are you all right?
No, I'm not. This combination of electrical plus chemical cyanide is dumb. We're going in the wrong direction. You're the only one that knows how to use this garbage, and of course you're never here. And finally, I think I'm getting brain fry.
Okay, Mitch, I'm gonna make it up to you. Let's just pause, put that down. Let's just take a step back. No, I was wrong, I'm sorry. Take a step forward. Now, take a step back. And a step forward. And a step back. And then we're cha-chaing.
Will you stop it? I'm serious.
Okay, I'm serious too.
The older of those two kids there is played by Val Kilmer, and you might remember him from Top Secret. The younger genius is Gabe Jarrett, and they have a goofy offbeat rhythm all through this movie as they work miracles in the laboratory. Here's the big moment where they finally get their new laser beam to work.
What are you doing?
Waiting.
Oh, no.
Relax, that just fuses at the substation. They'll have it back on in a minute. Maybe I shouldn't have shorted across the building transformer. But, more importantly, did we get a charge?
What'd you do? Wait a minute, this...
Come on, Putney. You said you wanted help, so here we go.
What?
The beautiful lines.
Chris, we have work. We can't...
Yeah, we're going to work. Hard work, my young friend.
It's taking you hours. What did you...
Well, let's go find out.
Now, of course, they've gone to all that trouble to create that laser beam to lead everyone to a party, which is called the Tanning Invitational. And they've taken a lecture hall and put a swimming pool in the bottom of it and turned the steps into a toboggan slide. These are real serious students, but they use all of that brain power in order to be so silly, which is one of the charms of this movie. I have sort of a rule about going to the movies, which reads like this. Whenever possible, go to movies that are at least as smart as you are. And Real Genius qualifies.
Well, wait a minute. Let me get that right. You're saying because it's called Real Genius, it's as smart as you are, and that's why you like it.
I
Thank you, Roger.
Better myself, Gene. Now just don't ask me why I like the vampire movie. After all the dumb movies this summer about dumb teenagers and dumb sexual problems, here's a smart, funny movie about bright, complicated kids. It was directed by Martha Coolidge, whose Valley Girl was another good movie about complicated, believable teenagers, and this one has a nice feeling for these kids who are real geniuses, but who also have all of the usual problems about adolescent life. I like this movie.
I thought it was a perfect name for my biography, you know.
Real Genius?
Yes, thank you very much.
I think Weird Science coming up later would be more your style.
No, I think it's a very funny film. Now, here's a film that goes over, we won't belabor the vampire picture anymore, but here's a film that goes for every single gag it possibly can and hits so many times. I thought this, I credit the script here. This is very funny. Somebody actually, and I think there were 3 people that worked on the script, Neil Israel, Pat Proctor, 2 of them, from the Police Academy movies. This time they really went through, and it looked like every single gag, can we fine-tune it, fine-tune it? Very funny. I laughed out loud a lot of this
Here's something that I liked about it. Now, you and I both went to college, right? We knew all of these crazy characters. One of the things on college campuses is that you're trying to make yourself into an individual, and there are a lot of people who behave in very strange ways to call attention to themselves, including, in this movie, the guy who lives in the closet, you know.
And he disappears.
And he disappears, and when you look in the closet, he's not there because he's really living in the steam tunnels. Now, in most college campus pictures,
we had a guy like
everybody is the same. You got the jock, you got the blonde, you got the cheerleader, you got the nerd. These are real, complicated, crazy kids like you find in a college dorm.
Also, how about the kid who turns the hallways of the dorm into an ice palace or a skating rink? I mean, maybe here's another test. I would like to go to the school that's in this movie as opposed to the schools that are in most teenage and high school and college films.
I'd say, Gene, that you probably did.
Okay. Coming up next at the movies, 2 computer whizzes designed the perfect woman.
I'm taking Gary to...
It's called Weird Science, and for a lot of people, I think it's one of the most eagerly awaited films of the summer movie season, the late summer movie season, for two reasons. First, it was written and directed by John Hughes, who has made two very good films involving kids recently, 16 Candles and then more recently, The Breakfast Club. And the other reason, at least that I've been looking forward so much to Weird Science, is its premise, which is that two kids managed to create, like modern Dr. Frankenstein's, a perfectly beautiful woman who will answer their every command. Sexist it may be, but it's still a cute idea.
So, what would you little maniacs like to do first?
And I think that every little maniac in the movie-going world would have an answer to that question. That's Kelly LeBrock as the perfect woman, and this is the second time she has played that role, in effect. She also starred as the dream girl, you remember, in the perfectly awful The Woman in Red. And I'm very sad to say this, but Weird Science doesn't turn out to be much better. I was stunned, actually, by how little was done with its engaging premise. How little was done that was either imaginative or funny or surprising. The film winds up insulting women and our intelligence with an awful lot of foul-mouthed toilet humor. One of the few modestly amusing scenes occurs when that perfect woman takes one of the boys to a swinging party and has to ask his parents for permission.
Yeah, well, I think it's time to go. You ready?
Where do you think you're going?
To a movie. Movie party is what it is, folks. We're going to a movie party.
A little liar. No, I've whipped up this nasty little soiree over at his friend Wyatt's house.
Swore what?
Soiree, honey. I think that means, party. Party.
You know, there's going to be sex, drugs, rock and roll, chips, dips, chains, whips. You know, your basic high school orgy type of thing.
Chips, dips, whips, your basic high school orgy. Not very funny. Now, when we get to the party, the film really falls into the dumper with violence and ugliness and stupidity. And even the character of the perfect woman, and boy, you could do a lot with that character changes because she turns out to have really a mind of her own. She's not just the boy's creation. She wants to teach the boys a lesson about life. This is sort of like little tacked on redeeming social value on a porno film. Weird Science is a weird movie. It's a good idea, but badly treated by a previously thoughtful, entertaining filmmaker. It caught me totally by surprise.
You're going way overboard on this one, Gene. This is a funny movie, and it is an entertaining movie. I don't know where you get this about toilet humor, violence.
Let me tell you where.
I mean, I think you're really way too sensitive.
First of all, I like foul-mouthed humor. The Last Detail is one of the foulest films ever created, and it was funny. So I'm now no prude on that. But I'm telling you that the character of Anthony Michael Hall, the kid...
a wonderful performance.
No, I think a wonderful performance. He does the same thing over and over again, Roger, and that is...
Gee, that's funny. You liked him in
I did like him in
16 Candles when he played the wimp.
Yeah, he had a script. Here he has one toilet joke after another. If you took out every anal reference... I'm going up on your shoulder.
I know, I'm pushing you away.
Okay.
Just cool it down.
If you took every single one of those out, he'd have a supporting role, not a starring role.
That happens to be the way he talks. It happens to be the way some high school kids talk. This movie is funny. The scene where they when they program the computer is funny. The scene where the woman appears is funny. The way she talks to them is funny.
That's the first 5 minutes of the movie.
One of the things that Hughes knows in this movie, and he knows in all of his movies, is how high school kids think. And of course, you said it was sexist. I guess it is sexist. Some high school kids are sexist. They have this woman. What do they do with her? I think it was fabulous that she turned out to have a mind of her own and that she tries to help them grow up instead of simply being a Playboy centerfold.
No, I think it would have been...
That's very interesting.
I think it would have been more fun, frankly, if it had gotten out of control with and they had learned the lesson on their own without her turning the character. But Roger, this script is full of it goes to toilet humor.
You're sounding like the Parents Committee.
No, I'm not like the Parents Committee. I like the howling when it came to vampire films, and I like all kinds of crazy teenage films, and this one is
Well, I mean, your credentials are terrific, but you missed the boat on this one. Next at the movies,
too, my friend.
The Coca-Cola Kid, about a marketing genius from Coke headquarters who wonders why there's one district in Australia where nobody drinks Coke.
What's your name?
Rebecca?
You can call me the Coca-Cola.
Our next movie is named The Coca-Cola Kid, and it's kind of timely right now with all the controversy over old Coke and new Coke and classic Coke and cherry Coke. This is a comedy about the one place in the free world that doesn't like any kind of Coca-Cola. It's a district in the outback of Australia where an old coot runs his own steam-powered bottling plant, and everybody there likes his soda pop the best. The Coca-Cola strategist in Atlanta sent a marketing expert out to Australia to work on sales, and he is horrified to learn that there's an area where no Coke whatsoever is sold.
Give me churches, schools, bars.
Oh, that'd be Anderson Valley.
Playgrounds, supermarkets, cemeteries. See? There is a living population there.
Oh, a few thousand maybe. It's pretty isolated.
Well, they must have throats. I mean, they must drink something.
There used to be a soft drink man down there, but it was a long time ago now, wasn't it?
Well, what the hell is he, Frank? A Pepsi man.
That's Eric Roberts. You might remember him as the killer from Star 80. He goes down to that area in Australia and finds the old troublemaker.
Well, so be it. Coca-Cola is proud to be part of life in this free country. Every day, Coca-Cola makes new friends and new places.
Anyone for a drink?
Do you know that we have already received applications for bottling franchises on the moon? But still, the Earth will not be truly free until Coke is available everywhere.
Not for me. Try a Coke.
My new dear friends of Anderson Valley, I would like to invite you to join us in worldwide fellowship.
That's Bill Kerr there was the old guy, the local bottler. And the plot gets complicated when it turns out the Kerr's daughter, played by Greta Sachi, works for the local Coca-Cola bottler, and she has the hots for Eric Roberts. She'll do anything to lure him into bed, but he's more interested in Coca-Cola than he is in sex. The Coca-Cola Kid was directed by Dusan Makaveyev, one of the most consistently offbeat directors at work anywhere right now. You might remember his last movie, Montenegro, about the American wife of a Stockholm businessman who ends up in the middle of an orgy at the local Yugoslavian nightclub. He loves to get all of those people into the same frame together. He loves to combine things that don't seem to belong together, and that's what he does in this movie. For example, there's a great scene where he uses Aborigine music for a Coke commercial.
And the Aborigine has an agent.
That's right, and I think maybe the Coke ought to hear this commercial. It might help, you know? Yeah. This is not only classic, it's prehistoric Coke. Right. I don't think, however, that Makaveyev ever really pulls the Coca-Cola Kid together into one consistent movie, but it's fun watching the pieces fly around.
I thought he did pull it together in one consistent movie. This film delighted me. It made me laugh an awful lot, and it also touched me very deeply. And I think, obviously, and I know you know this much at least, that what's going on here is obviously an anti-capitalistic domination of the world.
That's right.
Essay going on. At the same time, I think it does it with enough warmth, and rather than hitting people over the head, with enough warmth to suggest another way. And the other way is, frankly, hey, let's all get in bed together and have a good time. Because Greta Sachi's character, and I think she's much more sexy than the woman in that Weird Science film, she wants to have sex with this guy and chases him all over the world. And once they are in bed together, and it's done in a sexy way, in a beautiful way, you say, wasn't that a whole lot more interesting than the rest of his life, which is just to try to shove Coca-Cola down the throats of some people who are already happy with what they got to drink?
Well, she's very good in this movie. She was also good in Heat and Dust, you might remember. That was her first film. I like the movie. I'm not really criticizing it, except to say it doesn't really pull together into one statement about whatever. I mean, you pulled it together better than the movie does, and I think the weak point is Eric Roberts' character here.
I think he's a good actor.
He is so strange in this movie. He seems to be so coiled up inside. I think if it had been part of it, he should have been somebody more like Dennis Lawson, a local hero, the Scottish picture, where he's just kind of the winsome, peculiar kind of guy. Here he seems to be ready to continue on from Star 80 and murder some people in Australia.
Yes, because he's imbued with the philosophy, dominate, sell, sell, sell. And actually, I think one of this film is, you want a repressed character in there, because once he's sexually liberated, of course, that's the solution. Let's go to bed.
One of the things I love about Makepeyev, who is a Yugoslavian, so of course that's a country that's kind of halfway between the East and West, and so is he. There's a sense in which he likes Coca-Cola. He thinks it's ridiculous. He thinks that its idea that everybody should drink Coke is just as funny as the fact that some people do like to drink Coke, and he gets all of that ambiguity in there. That part is fun.
This film is so far above most of the summer junk we're getting. I mean, it's in another class. This is in the Pritzi's honor class.
Just one more footnote. Don't you think the timing is perfect with all of this front page stuff about Coca-Cola?
If it'll get people to see this movie, then go.
I wouldn't have believed Coca-Cola was like this until I read the newspapers for the last month.
All right, let's recap our reactions to the movies on this show. We split on Fright Night, Roger enjoying it more than I did. I thought it ran out of laughing gas at the end and got too gross. Roger disagrees. 2 thumbs up for the very silly Real Genius. This is the one comedy we liked on the show, the comedy about those kids creating that powerful laser beam. We split again quite wildly on Weird Science about kids creating a beautiful woman. I thought the film was insulting and gross. Roger thought it was funny all the way. And finally, 2 enthusiastic responses to The Coca-Cola Kid, one of the few thoughtful adult films released this summer.
With the caveat that Real Genius is also a film that adults would like just as much.
Sure.
So we got 2 that we agree on this program. That's it for this week. Next week, a special program about the explosion of physical fitness in the movies. We call it Flex, Pecs, and Sex, and that's next week. Until then, we'll see you at the movies.
Diet Shasta gives you 15 great-tasting NutraSweet flavors to savor. Diet Shasta, the one choice that gives you a choice. Nestle Crunch, it's creamy milk chocolate and crispy crunchies. Chocolate is scrunches when it crunches. That's why you'll love Nestle Crunch. Introducing new Fiber One with more fiber and less sugar than any other brand cereal. Fiber One, it's got more fiber. Keyboon Delicacies, from out of the ocean comes a unique blended seafood. New delicacies now in the frozen food section from Keyboon.